Welcome to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. I'm Amy Shannon, but you can call me Amy. Thank you for listening. Hello and welcome. I hope all is well with you. I'm Amy, and today I'm talking about two of Talia Haven's short stories. These are both remarkable stories. Talia Haven is mainly she writes short stories. I've discussed her stories on my show before, and I am just always honored to read them because they are a variety of genres and types, and you wonder, short stories are not easy to write because you want to make sure, like every story, an introduction, a middle, and an end, and that at the end the reader is satisfied with the ending, and also that the characters were inviting the story grabs your attention, and even if it's 1 page or 20 pages, they just want to keep reading. So, I'm talking about two of her books, short stories today. One of them is Hoeko and the Shark God, and the second one is The Hanging of Cousin Charlotte. So, both are very intriguing stories. And if you've read anything from Talia Haven, you just kind of want to keep reading this author's work. It's just, she's an amazing writer. And, I'm lucky that I get to read like all of her stories. So I dabble a little bit myself with short stories, so I know how difficult it is to make sure that, everything flows right. It's editing like a full story. It doesn't matter if it's 100 words or 100,000 words. It needs to keep the reader's attention. And a lot of times, some books, if they're not well written, they can lose you at chapter 1. So in a short story, you could be lost at, the first paragraph, or even the first section or chapter if it has one. So I'm gonna first talk about Talia Haven's Hoeko and the Shark God. And it's really she just gives a brief talk about what the story is. The descriptions are 1 and 2 sentences, so they need to grab the reader and say, oh yeah, I definitely want to read this book. So the description, and you can find this book on Amazon. Hoeko wants to be important to his tribe. When he is given a magical net, it changes the way food is harvested. So just in that, it makes you wonder what's going on. He has an interesting name. The use of the word tribe, sometimes you're not sure exactly what that refers to, because there are a lot of cultures that refer to themselves as tribes, family, a group, a community. There's a lot of names for people that are together, of the same culture or the same belief system, the same family, generations, things like that. So, some words, they just kind of like jump out at you and say, oh, I wonder what this one is about. So I'm going to just kind of tease you with the first page, and I'm saying first page because it's the first page on the Kindle. Cain, back then, was not known as the great creator he is now. He and his fellow gods and goddesses came from and were abandoned by older gods, so ancient that their names were lost, forgotten by even those who had been created by them. Since their creation, Cain and the others tumbled and drifted about in a vast dark space. No comets traveled across the skies, and the brilliant stars did not twinkle. The mighty moon, whose faint light we now see in the sky, did not shine. Finally, surrounded by a nothing that was stretched forever, Cain grew weary of their barren surroundings. "We need someplace else to live," he said to his wife Hani. "I am sick of the darkness and the endless void where we exist." "Then do what you must," agreed Hani. Encouraged, Cain called out to the other gods and goddesses. He offered a new existence, a different purpose. Off in the distance, so far that he could barely hear them, came eager cries for change. The other gods and goddesses slowly made their way to where Cain and Hani drifted. First a few, and then many more appeared, each grabbing a hold of each other, until when the last one arrived, the group had formed a circle around Cain. Floating gently in the vast darkness, Hani and the others held hands and watched while Cain, huddled in the center, pulled out a fistful of hair. They could not hear the words of creation that Cain murmured under his breath, while he twisted and wove the hair until he formed a giant calabash. Satisfied, Cain continued to hold the calabash tightly, and with his mouth close to the neck, he whispered one final word before sealing it and holding it aloft for the others to see. They observed silently as Cain floated in the center with that hairy object clenched in his mighty hands, and then, to their surprise, he tossed a large bottle up into the darkness. It began to glow faintly at first, and then brighter and brighter as it soared up and up and up, until finally, in the distance, when it had become a mere speck of light, it broke into two. Eager to see what he had created, Cain ignored the others as he hurried and made his way to the distant object. Hani and the gods and goddesses followed, curious to see what had become of the great calabash. As they approached, they saw below them that lay a magnificent marvel. One section of the giant calabash had become the endless sky, and the other, the earth and its vast oceans. Cries of excitement came from the onlookers. Amazed, they gazed down at the blue water and marveled at what Cain had created. Still, Cain was not entirely satisfied. So I will leave you at that with that particular story. And hopefully that entices you to pick up the Kindle book or on Amazon. And you are in for a wonderful treat with that particular story. And of course, if you've read one of her stories, you'll probably, like me, want to read all of them. There will be future shows on other stories by Talia Haven. The next one I want to discuss in this episode is The Hanging of Cousin Charlotte. The titles just grab you. It's like, what? Anyways, Justine seeks to solve a mystery. Why doesn't Charlotte like sleeping in her own room? So that is quite interesting. So again, I will entice you to read the first Kindle page. Are you ready, Miss Clare? I nod once, never looking back. I promptly busy myself with smoothing back out my skirt's invented wrinkle. Thank you, sir, for allowing me to speak tonight. I resist the urge to tell him. Instead, I clasp my sweaty hands together. I know how short of a notice it was. Mr. Johans, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing their names, leans to speak softly into my ear, careful to keep his hands to himself as all gentlemen of good breeding should. I'm glad that you were able to speak so late this evening, he says. Sensing my anxiety, he continues. There is no reason to be nervous. Everyone here, gesturing to the occupants in the crowded room, has some type of story to tell. They won't judge you crazy or a liar because they too have witnessed strange events and experienced unusual circumstances. Be sure to tell your tale exactly how you remember it. Leave out no detail. He straightens up as well as he can, steps forward to the podium, aged hands pulling his jacket straight before addressing the crowd. Everyone take your seats. The room quiets down. People settle in various areas of the room. Satisfied, Mr. Johannes continues. Tonight we will decide on the membership petition of Miss Justine Clare. Mr. Johannes steps away to take his place in the front row. Amongst polite applause, I rise from my seat and step forward. I take my place at the podium, ready to tell my tale for the first time. I was only 8 when my cousin Charlotte came to stay with our family. Her parents were my Uncle Matthew and Aunt Jane, Daddy's sister. Uncle had business to attend to in England, so he and Aunt Jane brought Charlotte from Boston to stay with us. I didn't know my cousin very well, her being much older than me, and from Boston and all. It was for that reason that Father made an older storage room into a suitable bedroom for Charlotte. For the first few weeks, Charlotte appeared to be in good spirits and health. She spent a considerable amount of time with my mother, helping with chores. During the heat of the day, they would head for the rockers on the porch to take up their sewing. Charlotte had been with us for several months when one morning she appeared for breakfast exhausted and in the most agitated state. In a quiet voice, she wished everyone a good morning and then gave me a tight smile as she settled into the chair across from me. Dark circles, almost dark as the color of her eyes, betrayed her lack of sleep. Mother, always the gracious hostess, normally would have inquired if there were something that she could do to make her guests more comfortable. She looked concerned, but kept the question to herself. Biting her lower lip, she set a bowl of oatmeal down in front of Charlotte. Turning to the stove, Mother shot Father a nervous glance. Father ignored them both. It was the lack of courtesy that drew my attention to Charlotte's plight. So, I know what happens next, and if you want to know what happens next, pick up Talia Haven's book, The Hanging of Cousin Charlotte. And, of course, you can find her, Talia Haven's Amazon profile. Just go to Amazon.com and in the search area, type in Talia Haven and you'll come up with her profile page and all of her short stories. And pick out the ones you want. And once you read one, leave a review and then continue to the next book. If you're an author who wants your book to be on the show, go to amysbookshelfreviews.com/podcast for more information. If you're an author and you want your book to be reviewed, go to amysbookshelfreviews.com for more information. Thank you, and I'll talk to you next week. This has been Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. Thank you for listening. And always, be kind and stay safe. Thank you.